I mean, looking at this systemic standpoint of addressing this population, addressing this needs, moving from sympathy of extending money and your donations to something like empathy. When was Vision 8 born?
We incorporated first. This was primarily my wife, myself, and a family member in 2004. But like I said, it became very quickly clear to us that this is something where the need is almost infinite, and there's no way we're going to be able to do this on our own. So we started approaching friends and talking to people, and we began actually a fully functional board with about 8 directors. All of them are volunteers. About 6 months down the line. So July of 2004 is when we started. By January 2005, we already had a full board in place. Today we have around 11 directors on the board, and people join every year. Some people roll off every year. So we are about 4 years into the game now.
From what you said, a big part of trying to connect the different dots in a system would be networking and talking to people and contacting them. What were some of the bigger challenges that you faced when you're trying to get this organization from a 2-man effort to something which now it stands at a solid 11 directors with overseas presence as well as presence here?
Well, you know what, it's interesting. The biggest challenge for me was my own perception of what people are going to say and how they're going to react. We sometimes underestimate the goodness in our fellow human beings. So when my wife and I first talked and said, let's talk to people, we ourselves were, full of doubt and skepticism, and said, are people really going to come and do this, in this day and age when people are self-centered, they don't want to really take time out, that's the general perception. So the biggest challenge was overcoming our own hesitation to do this. And like I said, we had 100% success rate in the first time we went out. We approached 8 people, all 8 of them said, yes, we're going to join. So, I would say the biggest challenge was actually just overcoming our own doubt.
What about you, Param?
Yeah, I would say that definitely what Ram said was a big challenge. And also, I think the biggest challenge we face is explaining it to people, basically which niche area that we are operating and what exactly Vision 8 does. Because anytime we put a booth in any of the events, people keep asking that questions. Do you really, they say we'll donate glasses, regular reading glasses, or we will donate, or do your people do cataract surgery, can we help in that? So I think one of the big challenge is explaining it to people that no, that's not our target audience. Our target audience, they don't need really reading glasses because they have 5% vision. Reading glasses will not help at all.
Right.
Or even cataract operation, this is not because of cataract, this is because of some other inherent problem in the eye that causing them this near blindness. So basically what we need your money. Basically we tell them that we have certain devices which are very high magnifying device, not just reading glasses. Reading glasses will give you 2, 3, or less than that kind of magnification. But these people need 10, 15 times magnification. There are special kind of devices that we have. Either you could contribute towards that so that we can provide those, as well as we have a computer training center there. So these, that center basically gives them other skills in terms of leading a better life, because through voice-activated software, even though they're not able to see, they can actually type in information and basically use any of the spreadsheets or a Word document or a PowerPoint, any of those tools, and they can be very productive. So that's where we need help. So I see that as a big challenge, explaining it to people. And get donations. And also the other thing is that our numbers are not really that high. Typically when you are talking about a nonprofit organization, say that we are serving underserved areas, people say, oh, like, are you giving thousands of meals to people, or are you enrolling thousands of students? No, our numbers are really few. Probably in a month we treat 50, 60 kind of people in a center. So it's not really big, but this is a segment that is totally isolated, that's totally not served. So that's our focus area. So our focus is not in terms of numbers.
That's a good point. The challenge sometimes is, people when they donate, they look at numbers. It's a numbers game. So
Right.
here it's basically the quality of time, and the amount of time investment is very high on a person. So
Right.
it's not really about how many people, but also how much time you're investing. And it's a challenge to sometimes convey this to people.
Right. Now, Vision Aid has, I think, come a long way since the idea brewing in your head from the partnership that you guys had in 2004. If you try and take a step back in trying and understand what are some of the successes or lessons that you learned while growing up, which has partly contributed to the people that you are today. Both of you are successful in your respective careers, and this has been an interesting initiative. It's been a journey, I would say, of certain sorts. If you try and take a step back, if you could try and share some of those lessons with some of our viewers here.
So I'll take that in two parts. One is the success of our programs,
Right.
and also success, in terms of learning experience. So in terms of the success of the programs, one of the most successful program, which Parmesh already referred to earlier, was the computer training program. When we first started this, we ourselves didn't actually know whether this was going to really lead to much benefit, but I'm happy to report that we started with 2 students. Today we have, close to 30 students enrolled. Some of them are in their 3rd year. They're actually a 4-year graduation program. People come in who are either fully blind or who have significant vision impairment, and they begin learning, just where is the power on button and power it on, and using audio sounds, they basically learn how to type. And I am just amazed looking at that, the progress which students have made in 3 years. They are able to work, some of them as adeptly as you or I would be able to work on a PC. So I would say that in terms of success, probably that's one of the most successful programs. In terms of success for us, in terms of what we are gaining from it, I could just talk about that endlessly. When you get into things like this, the kind of happiness it gives you, that in itself is immeasurable. But really what I touched upon is the biggest lesson is the human values lesson. You sometimes, you are amazed when you get into this. For whatever reason, you gravitate with people who are like-minded, who are like you, and who think out of the box while thinking about other people. So that for me has been the biggest, blessing, is that you actually end up meeting so many like-minded people, and our misconception that society is not going to do this has changed. So that's the.
And also we found out that once you give them skills, there are actually a lot of companies that do want to help.
Right.
They will not take on their payroll somebody who's totally raw, doesn't even know how to switch on a computer. But at least if you tell them that this person is near blind and the person has some skills, then companies are willing to give them opportunity, take them on their roles, because each company has a special quota for people with basic impairment. So they definitely they consider employing this kind of people, and that gives you tremendous satisfaction when you could transform a person who has nothing to look for in life to somebody who can earn his or her own living and then lead a better dignified life.
Right. Providing people empowerment to try something different, lead a life not only of just getting cured by whatever deficiency they have with their eyesight. It's a interesting, it's a difficult step, and you obviously spoke about difficulty communicating, the amount of time being spent. Try and looking forward a few years, where do you see the organization going, and how does it scale out as an operation?
It's a great question, and in fact scalability is one of the most difficult challenges which any startup, we are still in the startup phase, early phase of the organization as of today. In terms of where it can go, I had alluded earlier that the potential is almost infinite, because services like this don't exist. And there are reasons why they're not there, because actually if you look at primary eye care, wearing glasses, there's a commercial incentive, because it's a profession. Doctors make money, and people are able to pay for glasses, they're able to pay for an eye exam, they're able to, in most cases, pay for surgery or corrective treatment. This is a segment of the population which doesn't have money, and it requires a lot of time. So nobody wants to touch it. So this is the role of NGOs, in some cases government, to get involved, because it's basically treating a segment which needs help but cannot afford it, right? And this is needed in every semi-urban and rural area in India, in any other country. We started the first center in India. We are not necessarily constrained to a geographical location. in India or outside. We like to grow wherever the need is. So the destination is almost, the growth potential is infinite. We have to see how, over time, as we learn, we are going to, have to scale it gradually. We are planning a second center sometime next year based on ability to grow resources. And, hopefully after that we can keep adding centers each year. And at some point, we hope an inflection point of some kind will reach where we are not just incrementally growing in small steps, but we can actually take much bigger leaps and bounds.
Right.